Hi, this is Roger, and this video is to go over my motion sensor activated power LED driver board. It's a little tiny board, can fit nicely inside an aluminum channel for some under cabinet lights. The main blocks on here are a passive infrared or a PIR sensor, a IC to amplify the signal coming out of that PIR sensor, and pass that into the ADC of this ATtiny microcontroller. So that Tiny is going to monitor the output from the PIR. It can also generate a PWM signal to drive a LM3405 power LED buck regulator. This is a constant current, a LED driver that can drive about 4 power LEDs in series. The actual IC for that is on the bottom side, along with an LDO, a 5-volt regulator to power up the Tiny and the op amp, as well as the PIR. There's a button on here to give us a little bit of control, and in just a second I'll go over all the functionality of that. As far as wiring of this thing, we've got V in and ground, so there we can apply power. Up to about 15 volts is the max input for this flavor of 3405 and for the LDO I've got on there. Down here we've got LED out and LED return. So LED out is going to go out to the anode, or the positive leg of the first LED in series. You can string a couple of LEDs along, and then the cathode, or negative side of the last LED, is going to come back to LED return, or LED ret right there. Got to be really careful with wiring these, that there's a TPWM right next to LED return. If you wire the last cathode back to TPWM, I've not done this, but I suspect it's going to cause a few things on here to blow up. So avoid that and just wire back to this guy right here. On these Luma LEDs boards that can come with the driver, these are labeled A and C. I hope you can see that on there for anode and cathode. If you go to, say, Rapid LED or one of the main online suppliers of LEDs, a lot of the time these metal core PCBs will be labeled plus and minus. It's the same thing. This is the anode and that's the cathode. So I've got a board wired up right here. And I've got just a test jig so I can drive some LEDs. And I'm going to go ahead and power this up so we can take a look at what happens. And that's ridiculously bright, so I'll put that off to the side. But here's the board fired up. There's a couple of little indicator LEDs on here. The first is this little red LED. That's going to be on whenever power is applied. So that's just an indicator that we're powered up. There's a blue LED flickering a little bit, and that is going to go depending on the output of this passive infrared sensor. So as the ATtiny is monitoring the PIR sensor, it'll turn that LED on whenever it detects motion. As far as driving these power LEDs, note that as soon as power was applied, the LEDs came on. And that's because right now this is in what's called a constant on mode, or uncontrolled mode. Basically, as soon as you turn this thing on, it powers up. It'll drive the LEDs until power is removed. So that mode would be like if you wanted to have a light switch or some kind of relay controlling the 15 volts in. You just turn on the switch, the LEDs ramp up, and when you turn off the switch, they ramp off. If you want to have a little bit more control, we can switch this thing into controlled mode. To do that, just press this button and hold for 4 seconds, and the LEDs turn off. Now we're in controlled mode. If I power cycle this guy has remembered through an EEPROM on the chip that we're in controlled mode, and it won't turn the LEDs on right away. If I want to put it back to constant on, just press and hold that button again for 4 seconds, and it'll go to constant on, the EEPROM will remember the status. But now that I'm in controlled mode, I've got a few ways to control this. The way I intended it to work is just with a quick button press right here. And those LEDs ramp up to nice and bright, and when they ramped up, a 5-minute timer was started internally. And what will happen is every time this guy senses motion, every time that little blue light goes on, that 5-minute timer gets reset. If I walk away for 5 minutes and this guy goes 5 consecutive minutes without seeing motion, the LEDs will ramp off. If allowed to ramp off, the next time they see motion, they'll ramp back up and the 5-minute timer restarts. So that's kind of the motion sensor activated way of using this. It's also kind of nice with that LED so close to the Fresnel lens. The little hat that's sitting on this PIR sensor, the Fresnel lens. If this thing is in some sort of enclosure, every time that light comes on, it kind of backlights the Fresnel lens, and it gives a pretty cool visual. But anyway, as long as I'm here talking and moving, this will continue to see motion and it won't shut off. Anytime the LEDs are powered up, I can shut them off by just pressing the button really quickly. And when I turn those off, it goes back to the power on state, where if I want to turn them on, a quick button press, the LEDs ramp up over about 2 seconds, and the whole 5-minute timer is going. The other way I can control this, the final way, and anytime the LEDs are off, if I press the button, they turn off. And the other way to control this is to give a medium length button press, a button press of about 1 second. So if I press for 1 second, the LEDs just come right on. They don't ramp up, they just go completely on right away. And now there's no 5-minute timer, there's no PWMing the LEDs, they're just on. And they'll be on until I turn them off. So that's how this thing works in control mode. Quick press, the LEDs ramp up. If they go 5 minutes without seeing any motion here, they'll ramp back down. Anytime the LEDs are on in controlled mode, a button press will turn them off. And if I want to turn them on and have them stay on, I just press and hold that button for 1 second, and now they're on until I remove power or turn them off. Again, the other functionality here is to go to constant on mode, where I would press and hold that button for 4 seconds. Now the LEDs ramp up, and at this point, anytime power is applied, they're on. And if I want to turn them off, I either kill the power or go back to controlled mode, again by a 4-second button press. So that's the functionality of this guy. Yeah, my main intent with building this, and the reason it's got this slim form factor, is so it can fit into some under cabinet lights in some 3/4 inch aluminum channel. But I think there's a lot of applications for this, from security to decorative lights to whatever else can be done. So thanks for watching. Check this out on Tindie.com, and feel free to shoot me an email. My address is in the documentation for this, or leave any comments. Thanks again for watching.